Divine grace and forget dividends from Sandhi and just my karma. Dasi, 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 Nant Kotivan, Nant Kotivan, Nama Cherish and Heritage, from the Koshi Krishna Chaitanya from all glories to come divine, all glories to glory, all glories to Shri Guru, Shri Guru, all okay, going to start today with Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. It's a very nice section. This is all about the 7 purposes of ISKCON. Got a very close camera today because the mic isn't working. Okay. Yeah, so I just, as you told me what page it was, and I just opened it up and I saw it right on the point where we're having the 7 purposes of ISKCON. And I thought, yeah, so many people just go through life without having a purpose, just start doing things. But if we don't actually have a goal or a purpose, then we can just get led all over the way. But Srila Prabhupada, he had such strong purpose and vision, and he outlined this for us. And with these 7 purposes of ISKCON, we can realign ourselves as well. So we can think, are we fulfilling these 7 purposes of ISKCON? How can we do that? How can I do that personally, and how can we do that collectively? So yeah, it's always very important to read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita to help us realign ourselves. Okay. The purposes stated within ISKCON's articles of incorporation reveal Prabhupada's thinking. There were 7 points, similar to those given in the prospectus for the League of Devotees he formed in Jhansi, India in 1953. That attempt had been unsuccessful, yet his purposes remained unchanged. 7 purposes of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. A. To systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. B. To propagate a consciousness of Krishna as it is revealed by the Srimad Bhagavatam. C. To bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, prime entity, thus to develop the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part of the personality of God. D. To teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. E. To erect for the members and society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. F. To bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler and more natural way of life. G. With a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. Regardless of what ISKCON's charter members thought about the society's purposes, Prabhupada saw them as imminent realities. As Mr. Rubin, the subway conductor who had met Prabhupada at the Manhattan Park bench in 1965, had noticed. He seemed to know that he would have temples filled with devotees. There are temples and books, he said. They are existing. They are there, but time has separated us from them. The first purpose mentioned in the charter was propagation. Preaching was the word that Prabhupada most often used. For him, preaching had a much broader significance than merely sermonizing. Preaching meant to glorify selfless adventures. Selfless adventures on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Sri Chaitanya had preached by walking all over southern India and causing thousands of people to chant and dance with him. Lord Krishna had preached the Bhagavad Gita while standing with Arjuna on his chariot on the back. Buddha had preached. Lord Jesus had preached. and more pure devotees preach. ISKCON's preaching would achieve what the League of Nations and the United Nations have failed to achieve: real unity and peace in the world. ISKCON workers would bring peace to a world deeply afflicted by materialism and strife. They would systematically propagate spiritual knowledge of the non-sectarian science of God. It was not that a new religion was being born in July of 1956. Rather, the eternal preaching of Godhead, known as Sanctum, was being transplanted from east to west. The society's members would join together, and by hearing teachings of Bhagavad Gita and by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, they would come to realize that each was a spirit soul, eternally related to Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead. They would then preach to this humanity at large, especially through Sankirtan chanting the holy name of God. ISKCON would also erect a holy place of transcendental pastime dedicated to Sandhi. Was this something beyond the storefront? Yes, certainly. He never thought small. He seems to know that he would have temples filled with devotion. He wanted ISKCON to demonstrate a simple, more natural way of life. Such a life Prabhupada thought of the village of India, where people lived just as was most conducive to developing a project. And all 6 of those purposes would be achieved by the 7th. ISKCON would publish and distribute literature. This was the special instruction Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had given to Srila. He had specifically told him one day in 1932 at Radhakund in Vrindavan, if you ever get my books. Certainly none of the signers saw any immediate shape to Swami's dream. Yet the 7 purposes were not simply theistic rhetoric invented to convince a few New York state government officials. Prabhupada meant to enact every item on the charter. Of course, he was now working in extremely limited circumstances. The principal place of worship, located 26 acres in the city, country, and state of New York, was the sole headquarters for the International Society of Krishna. Yet Prabhupada insisted that he was not living at 26th Avenue, New York. His vision was transcendental. His Guru Maharaj had gone out from the traditional holy place of spiritual meditation to preach in cities like Calcutta, Bombay, and Delhi. And yet Prabhupada was saying his spiritual master had not really been living in any of those cities, but was always in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, because of his absorption in devotional service. Similarly, the place of worship, 26 Second Avenue, was not a New York storefront, former curiosity shop. The storefront was an apartment that had been spiritualized and now a transcendental haven, so society at large could come here. The whole world could take shelter, regardless of race or religion. Plain, small, and impoverished as it was, Prabhupada regarded the storefront as a holy place of transcendental dedicated to herself. It was a world headquarters, publishing house, a sacred place of pilgrimage, and a center from which an army of devotees could issue forth and chant the holy names of God, all in the streets of the world. The entire society could receive Krishna consciousness from the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, which was beginning here. The Prabhupada he Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, it was running out. But yeah. I'm sure if I can catch it for 5. Atam Kanja Palashaki. Kasya Shiha Kutasati. Imam Imchik Irshafisham Samaya Tatam Kanja Palashakshi Kasya Shiha Kutatati Imamu Pakulim Viru Kim Chikishasisham Samaya Tatam Kanja Palashakshi Kasya Kutasati Imamu Pakulim Viru Kim Chikishasisham Samaya Who? Chum, you. Panjapalasha, like the petals of the lotus. Akshi, eyes. Kasya, whose. Asi, you are. Niha, here. Vita, where from. Sati, a chaste one. Imam, this. Vita, near. Burnim, sorry. Burim, city. Viru, a timid one. Him, what? Chikri, Chikir Shasti, you're trying to do. Shamsa, highly explain. There, and to me. Translation of the question. Dear Lodge of Eyes, kindly explain to me where you are coming from, who you are, and whose daughter you are. You appear very chaste. What is the purpose of your coming? What are you trying to do? Please explain all these things to me. What? The first aphorism is that is 12 man. In the human form of life, one should put many questions to himself and his intelligence. In the various forms of life lower than human, The intelligence does not go beyond the range of life's primary needs, namely eating, sleeping, mating, and dogs, cats, and tigers are always busy trying to find something to eat or a place to sleep, trying to defend and having sexual. In the human form of life, however, one should be intelligent enough to ask what he is. Why has he come to this world? What his duty is? What is the supreme control? Sorry, who is the supreme controller? And what is the difference between dull matter? There are so many questions, and the person who is actually intelligent should simply inquire about the supreme source of everything. Ato Brahma Jigyasa. A living entity is always connected with a certain amount of intelligence. But the human form of life, the living entity must inquire about spiritual identity. This is real human intelligence. It is said that one who is simply conscious of the body is no better than an animal, even though he may be in the human form. Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sri Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's heart. From me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. In the animal form, the living entity is completely forgetful of his relationship with God. This is called athohana, or forgetfulness. In the human form of life, however, consciousness is more greatly developed, and consequently, the human being has a chance to understand his relationship with God. In the human form, one should utilize intelligence by asking these questions, just as Puranjana, the living entity, is asking the unknown girl where she has come from, what her business is, why she is present. These are inquiries about attachment, self-realization. The conclusion is that unless a living entity is inquisitive about self-realization, is nothing. The form of spiritual master, the spiritual master is under spiritual. So this purport and text is all about questions and answers. And yeah, when you work in a school, there are non-stop questions from kids. We have young, and it's non-stop questions. Why? Why this? How does this work? And sometimes they come out with really difficult questions. Like, when am I going to die? And all these interesting questions that children of devotees often ask. So it's non-stop questions. And then when we get to youth, or kind of young age, my spiritual master says that the youth of today, they don't think past, what's happening this weekend, where's the party, it's just, where's the sense of gratification? We can't see beyond that, thinking beyond to like 20 years old or 30 years old. Why would I even bother thinking about, let's just do some wild hedonistic activity right now, where's the fun? And then when you get old, then often you just kind of stop asking questions as well. You've made so many declarations and you've kind of made up your mind. My grandfather, he used to say, don't try and change my mind with the truth. No, don't try and confuse it with the truth. I've already made up my mind. So people are a little bit more set in their ways. So they don't want to go back on things that they've said. They don't question what they've already tried. Stop questioning. And often, actually, when you meet people on the streets, they you do meet a certain amount of people when you're trying to go to the books about you say things like, "Oh, I don't want books will limit my spirituality because my spirituality is just books are going to limit it. I want to think and work out myself. What is the creation of the world? What is the ultimate reality? What's the purpose of life?" And actually, this is a very difficult thing for us to do on our own without any guidance. I had experience of that myself in my early 20s, traveling around New Zealand. Done most of the activities that you can do in life. You know, I'd already had a job and had an apartment, things like that. At some point, I'm like, wow, this is really boring. Is this the purpose of life? What? You know, I've done these things. You know, apart from having kids, which I don't want to do at this age, then, you know, seems pretty boring. There must be more to life than this. I went journey, the spiritual quest, and I came to New Zealand at the time and was living in different kind of spiritual communities and trying to ask deep questions in life. You know, stayed in some Zen Buddhist temple and Western Buddhist society, and I met the devotees, and I lived in that ground for a while. So I was doing a lot of questioning. But, you know, like a lot of young people, I didn't want to sign up to any specific thing. I just wanted to take the parts of what I thought was best and create my own kind of philosophy. So after a while, I moved out of the tram and I hitchhiking around the South Island in New Zealand, going to different festivals. And I got a bit bored of that after a while. I thought, right, I'm just going to take my tent down Milford Sound area. I'm just going to put my tent up and stay down on the path and not sleep until I worked out the, you know, 20-year-old that's just had hedonistic lifestyle for the last, you know, few years, deciding that she can understand by herself the whole purpose of the world. So there I went with my tent, and I thought, you know, if I'm away from the sea, if I'm away from all the people, make up my mind, question my intelligence. So there I was with my tent, and my mind just was really blank. I was like, how can I work out the meaning of life? You know, when all these great philosophers are arguing about it, how can, you know, a young girl answer all these questions herself? I'm blank, so, you know, do the typical thing, ate lots of snacks, had a sleep, and then other travellers came and end up partying. And I'm like, oh man, it's the exact same point as I was years ago. I haven't understood anything really. All this questioning, there's no answer going round and around, it's just mental speculation. So I couldn't decide what I was going to do. I thought, right, Milford Track there, I'm just gonna walk the Milford Track in solitude, you know. So I started walking. After about a day's walking, because you camp in different kind of huts along the way. So I was walking nearly a day, following the markers, and then it started to rain like really, really bad, like so badly, and it was starting to get dark, and it was raining so much that some of the markers were starting to get covered. It was getting dark, and I couldn't find my way, and it was lightning, and I was like, wow, you know, if I get struck by lightning standing in water, I'm just gonna get electrocuted. You know, there's actually a really strong possibility. It was freezing cold, so but there's a possibility I could die out. So it's like, well, you know, what do I, all this philosophy that I've been studying, like, what can I actually practically apply? So I thought, you know, I was brought up with Christianity, like there was too many unanswered questions, and you know, you have to have faith. If you don't have faith, like faith that Jesus is going to say, I don't have that faith, so it's not going to work. Buddhism, how can I sit down here and paddle a water? If I sit down here in this water, even more to die, so I can't just sit down and meditate. So the only thing I can think of is chant this mantra. I'm chanting this mantra. While I'm walking, there's a chance and find that. So I started chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, walking along chanting. And within about half an hour, so I found so I go into this hut, and in this hut, I found this book. This book was The Laws of Nature. Does anybody remember that book? Had quite a scary front cover. It was like the modes of material nature, the living entity is there being pulled like a puppet. It was quite a scary thing. And I had a memory when I was in London of the young art student through the city, and this monk had come up to me with this book. He handed me this book, so I took it. Quite scary. I thought, oh, well, pretty good, keep going. And then he was like, hang on a minute, hang on a minute. And then asking me questions, trying to get, you know, get back. So here I was, you know, in the middle of nowhere. This book had come back. And yeah, so there I was. I felt like my mantra saved me. This book had come. So I felt that these were the pointers, my direction in life. I should go back to the devotees, which I did after I got out of the South Island. I went back to Wellington and back to Lounge, which is like lost in Wellington. I knocked on the door. You know, I had the draggle white dreadlocks, and Kajiravan showed me the door. She's like, "Oh, Sarah, you've come back." And then she's "Come in, have some prashadam." So, you know, she's feeding me prashadam before I would go away. Yeah, so I started to take prashadam. And I really felt that, you know, when I was reading some of those books, they weren't limiting my vision of spirituality, they were actually opening it up. I actually had a friend who bought it, like, she was reading it. She was reading the first time. She was reading all about the creation, how the universe is coming out of the walls of partition. She was like, "This has to be real." And I was thinking, even in your wildest kind of imaginative creation, you couldn't think up stuff like that. So from a Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, it's definitely not limiting spirituality. It actually opens up. And yeah, I'm thinking Bhagavad Gita. This is basically the whole book is questions and answers between Krishna and Arjuna, or Arjuna and Krishna. So Arjuna is private from him. And his first question to Krishna is, "What should I do? What is my duty in this situation? What should I do?" And this is also one of the major questions from Bhagavatam, by the sages of Brahmacharya, and also by Maharaj Parikshit. You know, what's the duty of a human being? What's the duty of one who's about to die? So this was the first question asked by Arjuna. You know, what should I do? I'm in this terrible situation. My uncle is on the other side. What should I do? But before he asks Krishna that, he gives so many reasons why he shouldn't fight the battle. And then he asks Krishna, "I'm confused about the duty. I'm the soul surrender to you, please help me." And then the Prabhupada and the Prabhupada about how the whole material world is so full of these perplexities come just like a forest fire. So the forest fire comes suddenly without anybody and the perplexities of the world come without anybody asking for it. And in the purple paper says that we want to inquire from the spiritual master. So yeah, we have to find somebody more advanced from us to answer our questions. So if we have dilemmas in spiritual life, yeah, we have to ask for help and advice. So who do we ask advice from? We can kind of ask advice secretly, know what we want to hear, and surround ourselves with people who we think are going to give us the answers we want to hear. Or we can people that are more advanced have a similar mood. You know, if you ask somebody that's more advanced that has a very different mood, you may not have advice. But if you have sincere inquiries and questions, ask them a similar mood that will give you an honest, that's further along the path, and they can give you an honest answer. Yeah, we'll have to be able to follow. Yeah, so it's interesting. So Arjuna asks Krishna, "What should I do?" And the soul surrender to you. And then immediately he starts, then again, kind of saying what he thinks. And then he's like, "I just can't fight." He's asked help, but then he gives some conclusion. This shows the amount of crisis and disturbance and mental agitation that Arjuna's in. Yeah. And he would never, normally had nothing very painful situation. And then Krishna comes back straight away with his transcendental knowledge, and he kind of zooms out of the situation. Arjuna is just on the battlefield. His loved ones there. The only thing he can think about is how much fight. Krishna completely zooms out of the situation. And he says, actually, you're an eternal spirit soul, they're eternal spirit souls. You can't actually do anything. It's all the philosophy about transcendental soul. And that starts off. Conversation structure in-depth way. Can anybody else think of any questions in the Bhagavad Gita? One of my favourite ones where I think is applicable to everybody, throughout time in all different places is why are we forced to do something by ourselves against others? So why do we do things against our own will by force? So I'm sure that lots of people have experienced that, even if it's like a New resolution decided not eating chocolate or not Facebook on the phone, and you make this decision yourself, and as if you're going against your intelligence, as if by force. There's this like battle going on in your mind, grabbing at the chocolate, grabbing at the phone, and it's almost as if force you. And Krishna explains, to Arjuna all these different things about the link between the body, the mind, the spiritual aspect, and the material energy and life, how these things draws in, and explains all about the modes. And it's interesting because it's not just, even though Arjuna has surrendered to Krishna as guru, it's not like it's just a lecture. And Krishna said, okay, you've told me everything, like you surrendered unto me, so I'm just going to take back to no question back. He gives Arjuna practical advice about meditation, and Arjuna comes back to it and says, I can't usually apply that. It's practical and impossible. The mind is turbulent and wild and crazy, and I don't think I can do it. So it's definitely a conversation. When Arjuna feels something as practical, so similarly in spiritual master presence and instruction. It's not like spiritual master says something, and then unless we just take that instruction without questioning and do it, it's a conversation and we can reveal our doubts and questions about that to help us do it in a more authentic way. We just read and follow the instruction. Then that might not actually be what the spiritual master wanted. All of the information about certain circumstances, it's like changing instruction. We may come back to it at a later time, but it's not just a one-time thing. And again, Arjuna comes with more questions. Krishna answers them one by one. What if taken this process failed? He's failed in both material and spiritual life. Krishna gives him encouragement and then Arjuna comes back before the deeper question, things that we hear about. He's giving what is the duty? Who's the supreme controller? What's the difference between Dharma and the living? So all of these different questions Arjuna is asked. And also that asked and answered for sure by as well. Bhagavatam is again question. Questions by the sages and Shuddha Swami, and nested within that narrative is also questions and answers as well. In teaching with Lord Kapila my favorite Dora, throughout the whole of Bhagavatam, so many different questions and answers. And this helps guide kind of questions that we can be asking as well, because our mind is very much influenced by what we're hearing and seeing Actually, my spiritual master had, I don't know, it's been a long time ago, maybe 20 years ago. He actually was meeting with the Prime Minister of New Zealand for having a book. And the Prime Minister kind of revealed that actually, we just keep giving the sports and the TV, and people just get dulled, so they don't actually question people. And so we're guided by what we see in the media, which is also it's not unbiased. So everything we see and hear helps mold what we question, and it stops us questioning, or it guides our questioning. So it's really important to read Prabhupada's books, which kind of realign us again. Like we're reading Prabhupada in Amritsar, it's realigning us. And when we read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, it realigns us. This is the kind of thing I should be asking. And it also answers questions that we haven't even been able to verbalize yet. And then, so Krishna's answering questions one by one. And by the time he gets to the end, then he says to Arjuna, when you think about it, contemplate it, and then do what you wish to do. So he doesn't ask him to just accept without, he asks him to think. And this is what Prabhupada is saying, we have to question our and not be afraid to question our because we may make some decisions in spiritual material life that were right at that certain point of life. That doesn't. So every now and again we have to stop and question, am I still in the right place? Is this the right thing, or is it changed? So we don't want to get stuck in our ways. Like my grandfather, he was joking. Don't confuse me with the truth of what I think. So we shouldn't be afraid to question ourselves, question things done or said in the past. I just wanted to, I can't go on too long today, but for a course of 15 minutes, Thursday for school. But I just wanted to finish with a verse in the purport, or part of the purport from the first canto of Bhagavatam. So the sages of Naimisharanya have been asking questions. And in Bhagavatam 1, 2, 5, there's Sudha Goswami was questioned by the sages. The questions were worthy because they were about Krishna. Only these kinds of questions satisfy the self. And the purple Prabhupada says, the whole world is full of questions and answers. In the morning and at night, birds are busy with questions and answers. I thought that was quite sweet. I was wondering what the birds are asking. Maybe the lovebirds are like, where are you? Are you hungry? Lawyers, students, businessmen, politicians, press, all day questions and answers, whole life questions and answers with no satisfaction. Satisfaction can only be found in Krishna. Krishna is our most intimate master, friend, father, or son, or object of conjugal love. Forgetting about Krishna, we have created so many questions and answers, but none of them are able to complete satisfaction. All things but Krishna give satisfaction of me. So if we want to have complete satisfaction, we must take to questions and answers. Because Srimad Bhagavatam is full of questions and answers that are related to Krishna, we can derive the highest satisfaction only by reading and hearing this translated literature. I was thinking not only is Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita there answering our questions, but also the giving that it's not a material, intellectual thing. So I've got this down. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam, when we're hearing these questions about satisfaction, and that satisfaction is also in some ways, the conclusion as well. But this is actually the proof is in the pudding. And so when I was just mentally speculating about these kind of philosophy, I was just speculating and taking a bit of that kind of creating my own philosophy. But actually, when you take to the process of push project, it's not just an intellectual decision, it's actually an experiential thing as well. So when you read your Bhava, then you feel that satisfaction, and then that kind of overpowers all the thought argument. It's like, I've got what I'm looking for now. Because actually, that's what we're not ultimately going to be the winner of an argument or conversation. Be right all the time. That's very dry and also very scary, because if you just want to be right all the time, then it's on a very false platform. And sometimes you have to lie to cover up your mistakes when you realize it's wrong. But this goes much deeper. When we have questions that are status, that's actually what we want, connection to, and that, yeah, the nourishing, Sure, is very nourishing, which isn't what you'd think from a book of questions. Yeah. So it's on the transcendental platform. Yeah, social Bhagavatam is very soothing. Key. Yeah, unfortunately. Even though the class was all about questions and answers, yeah, it's good to have. I'm sorry. Maybe have a breakfast you can have. Have that.